Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be doing a counter pick tier list because as Ultimate is developing in its metagame, having a secondary is getting way more important just so you can cover a wider matchup spread. And there's a lot of characters in this game that are really good for secondaries because like basically everyone in Ult has a purpose, but there's a couple characters that excel. We're going to be going over the top 10, but we're going to be talking about the other tiers of where the characters that aren't in the top 10 may fit. So I have three tiers here. I have great counter picks, good characters but need to commit, and could help, but there's better choices. And this tier is basically just these characters could definitely help in certain matchups. Like for example, Pichu is really good against Roy. Ike is really good against Game & Watch. Would I recommend picking them up as a secondary? No, because either A, like some of them are like a little hard, like you have characters like Ice Climbers that are super intricate, though they have a couple good matchups. But also most of these characters, it's like you're only going to be covering a couple matchups, and when you're playing a secondary, you want that secondary first of all have good options, right? Because you're not going to be as strong with them. You want to have something you can rely on, like a really strong neutral, really strong advantage state, really good disadvantage, something like that. And you want to have a better matchup spread. And a lot of these characters down here, even though they have like some really strong win conditions, like Luigi for grab, for example, a lot of the matchups that you might need him for won't work out. But let's say like I don't know, you need like a Game & Watch counter specifically, then Ike might be a really good pickup because he does really well in that matchup. He's a pretty easy character. So this one is like it definitely could work in specific scenarios, but I think for most people, these characters you're not going to want to pick up as a secondary. But again, if you need a certain character counter, then like basically any of these characters work. Again, in Ultimate, every character is kind of at a point that they can be used in certain matchups, and there's certain low tiers that are like, really, really bad that I wouldn't recommend for any matchup, but it's definitely possible to pick up these secondaries and do pretty well with them. Now, the next tier is characters that are good, but you need to commit to them because they either have specific things about them that are weird or just hard in general. And I think this tier has some of the best counterpick characters in the game if it clicks for you. Like, for example, Sonic. Sonic is the best counterpick character in the game because he doesn't lose any matchups. Like, it is broken. But also, a lot of people, they're gonna have a hard time playing Sonic in the way you need to for him to not lose any matchups. Like if you're playing Sonic incorrectly, he loses a couple matchups. But if you're playing like Timeout Sonic Perfect Camp, then he doesn't lose any, which is really strong. But not everyone's gonna be able to do that, and I think a lot of characters fit into that. Kazi as well. If you can't do inputs, you're gonna struggle. Pikachu if your combos are weak. Snake and Diddy if your item control isn't great. These are characters that you could have great success with, but a lot of people may be struggling against them. Like the characters that we have in here that are top 10, these are generalist characters. None of their stuff is super hard and it could be basically applied to everyone. Some of these characters have things that people aren't really going to be great at. So if you can figure out one of these characters, like let's say you're really, really good at Pac-Man, but you don't want to main him, Pac-Man as a secondary would be amazing. He has a bunch of strong options. Like all these characters have really strong options, some really strong meta matchups, and I think they are worth picking up again if you can figure them out. If you're looking for a secondary right now, I would start with these top 10, but if these characters click for you, then they are perfect because they have some really strong options. Next up is the great counter picks tier, and in this tier there's characters that either just have really strong win conditions, a sword, or really good bread and butters. The only characters that I might move down are DK and Incineroar just because like they are a little volatile, but the thing about a counter pick is you don't need them to be super consistent because you just need to win a game or two, and favorably you're probably going to be picking into a matchup you're good with, not just because you're losing hard. You want to be picking into that better matchup. Even though Incineroar and DK's matchup spread isn't super crazy, they just have some really strong win conditions. DK especially, I'd say DK isn't better for Incineroar this fact. Like, DK's win condition is so incredible that if you bust him out in a game or two, you might be able to win with him, which is really strong. Swordsman as well, just like having a sword is so good in Ultimate, just gives you like great spacing over the other opponents. Your combos, you don't need to have intense ones as well, which is really good. Then you have characters like Mario, PT, and Me Brawler. They just have really strong neutral, really good easy bread and butter combos. Maybe Brawler I would move down to good character, but Brawler's neutral is just like so incredible, and you can kind of just like throw out a lot of his moves. Like Brawler's broken. Ness, Falco, Game Watch have really, really strong bread and butters. And then the two characters that I had, Bowser as well, just like a heavy with a strong win condition. The two characters, though, that I had in contention for top 12, or top 10 rather, are going to be Young Link and Terry. And the only reason I didn't do Terry is because of his inputs. He's like a little weird, FGC inputs, all that stuff. Like, the inputs aren't super hard, but you do need to know them. Maybe it's a little bit weird to most people's playstyle because FGC characters do play a little different than everyone else in the cast, but I still think Terry is a great choice. And Young Link as well, the only reason Young Link I didn't choose him is just because I think the characters here just power creep him. I just think these are better characters than Young Link. I still think Young Link is like a top 10 pick for sure, just like the characters above him are just simply better and like a tier list understanding. They have just stronger neutral, stronger win conditions, all that kind of stuff, but Young Link is a great choice, as all of the great counter pick choices are, because, that's why they're in that tier. Now, I'm curious on who you guys have, maybe that you move up, maybe move a couple of characters from good characters, need to commit, maybe a couple from good, there's better choices, up to that great counter pick, maybe even some characters in this tier into the top 10. I could see in a game like Ultimate, there's a lot of very swingy matchups, and I can't know all of them, so I'm curious what you guys think. But starting off with the top 10, our first choice is going to be Steve. Now, I'm putting Steve only at 10th because Steve has insane stuff, but you don't need it at all. You can have a Steve that's very basic, no, like, you don't even need to know insane combos. You can just know, like, up air, forward air. That's a pretty basic combo, no block movement at all there, and that's like 40-30%. Like, his bread and butters are so incredibly strong. He has really good minecart options, obviously. Downer is incredible. Block is still broken, even if your utilization of it isn't amazing. Like, Steve's options are just so overwhelmingly strong that it makes him a really good counter pick, as well as having a pretty decent matchup spread. I do think his matchups are getting worse just because people are figuring out how to deal with him more, so the matchups aren't great, or like they're getting worse, they're still really good. And I think he's a really strong counter pick character, though you might have to invest in him a little more than the other characters, which is why I have him at 10th. But like in theory, Steve is like a top 5 counter pick character. If you just learn like 3 bread and butters, like you could be destroying people with your secondary Steve for sure, for sure. The next character that we're going to put on here is going to be Palutena. Now, Palutena, really strong neutral, pretty good matchup spread, and her kill conditions are pretty obvious. But that is the thing that actually keeps her lower, is because her kill conditions are so obvious. She's a fairly one-dimensional character, and for a secondary, that isn't as great because you have to get creative when you want to get kills with Palutena consistently, which isn't like amazing. Like, if you don't know any Palutena setups, granted there's like 2 of them, but if you don't know those setups, you might be struggling for kills. If you're not being able to land your grabs really well, you might be struggling. So Palutena is a character with really strong neutral, really good options. Her combos are super easy, but sometimes she can struggle in that last hit situation, and you're usually picking a secondary because, again, you want to be able to close out the set. The counter pick is there so you can get that game or two and get out, and if you can't close the game with the character, that could be a big struggle, and I think that is what holding Palutena down a little bit, but she's still an amazing counter pick. Her neutral is just so strong. Our next character is going to be Rob, and this is the part of the list where it stops being like, okay, these characters have a specific weakness that the other ones might not have as bad, and it's just like, okay, I'm just picking ones at this point that I think would do better in the meta, and I think Rob is still an amazing choice, has some of the best normals in the game. All of his options are really strong. You don't need to know the insane Rob combos, kind of like Steve. His low-level stuff is still amazing, even though his bread and butter combos don't go for as long. You don't need to have massive gyro control to be still really good with the character. If you just put gyro on the ground to ledge, that is still super annoying to deal with. You don't need to be insane with items. I just think Rob, even played at like the basic amount, has such a strong neutral game. His combos are still really easy. He has really easy kill confirms with Nair. His grab killing is super nice as well. I think Rob is a great secondary character. I just think the characters above him are a little bit better. Our next character is going to be Wolf. Wolf is basically just Palutena, but I think his options are a little stronger. His neutral game is absolutely incredible. He has some kill confirms which are really nice. Like, Palutena doesn't have too many kill confirms, or like really any, but Wolf has a couple kill confirms that are really easy to learn, which is super nice for a secondary, because killing is going to be probably the main struggle that people are going to have, as well as having a kill throw is really strong. His neutral game is incredible. His aerials are all broken. His bread and butters are super easy and do a ton of damage. Like, every time Wolf hits you, you are hurting for a lot, which is really good. Wolf is an amazing character, and like, his main weakness, I'd say, is probably like his recovery, which isn't even that bad. But in a matchup where you're picking against the specific character, you already know what character they're going to be going. You can pick a character that isn't going to be edge running you, which, like, it makes some of his weaknesses go away, which I think makes him really strong. And I think Wolf is just an amazing counterpick character. Our next character is going to be Aegis, which might be a little low for people, but the only reason that I have the other characters above them is because either I value their win condition more, or because they have a lesser weakness. Now, Aegis, they do have a little bit of a weakness still in recovery, but also so do Min Min and Cloud, and I guess Lucina arguably, but not really. But Aegis is definitely the worst of it, but also the great thing about counterpicking is you're not really going to be ever playing against a character that's going to be edgeguarding you a ton, because you're counterpicking into them. And Pyra and Mithra, the way you can play it between them creatively is really good. You can focus on your strengths. If you're really good with Pyra, but you're not as great with Min Min, or with Mithra rather, you can just switch to Pyra most of the time. Like, it can definitely work. It makes it really strong. I think Aegis is an amazing counterpick character, and they're like big weakness of getting edgeguarded in a lot of the matchups that you're going to be playing them in. It isn't as big of a deal, which is pretty crucial. The next character is going to be Roy. Now, the only reason that I chose Roy over Aegis is because Jab is such a strong kill confirm, and you don't need to do Jab back here, but that is an easy kill confirm to learn. But let's say you're like really bad with Raj, you can't figure that out, you can just do Jab into forward air. Like, you can just do that. Like, it still kills very early. His combos are incredibly strong. He's like, His win condition's really good. You can just hit a side B at like 60 and kill someone at the ledge. Up B at a shield's really broken. Having super arm that as well is really great if you don't know the specific timings of things, like, or like how quick you're actually going to be able to do it, because you're not going to be as familiar, of course. Roy is just like incredibly strong. He's a really strong matchup spread, does good against a lot of meta relevant characters, and he's an amazing counter pick. Our next character is Samus, but actually Samus is right here, and I just forgot to mention them, so my bad. Samus is between Wolf and Aegis. Samus is broken. Charge Shot makes up like half the cast alone. With Charge Shot, she's still like a top 10 counter pick. And then there's the rest of her. Her aerials are incredible. She has some really good tilts as well. Like nothing crazy compared to the aerials at least. Her out of shield game is really strong. Again, having a kill throw, I cannot understate how helpful that is. It's just so good. The only thing maybe holding her back is like you do have to play a little lane with Charge Shot. If you're not using Charge Shot like super well, then you're not going to be doing well with Samus. That is such a crucial part of her game plan. So that might be holding certain players back. But if you can play well with Samus Charge Shot, she is one of the best counter pick characters of the game because she has confirms off it. It just kills by itself. It's just really annoying. Does a lot of damage. Like Charge Shot is broken, and Samus is an amazing counter pick. Sorry, I forgot her. Sorry to all the Samus fans. Our third character is going to be Lucina, the original counterpick queen. This character is really stupid. Her edge guarding is super easy. Like, she just covers flowcharts really, really well because she has a massive back air. Her reverse up B is really strong. Forward air is really good for it as well. Her neutral is so good. Like, if you just have decent neutral as a player, you're probably going to have a pretty good Lucina because that is all the character is, just spacing and neutral. She has really consistent killing with up B at a shield, just like her aerials as well, just killing. Her tilts are amazing for spacing. Like, Lucina just like, she is just the bread and butter. She does it all. Incredible character, as well as having something like Shield Breaker, which can just like be a huge mix-up, get you back in the game. Like, that is always something. Like, these top tiers in Ultimate, like, they'll just have like these really strong options, and then they'll have that one option that is just like a wild card. Like, you know, Roy has like his side be like, oh my god, I got hit by that, I'm dead. Now, Lucina's isn't like to the same extent. It's definitely a different type of wild card, but it's still very strong, and she is an amazing counterpick character. Our next character, and the second best counterpick character in the game, in my opinion, is going to be Cloud. Cloud is like Lucina, but Lucina doesn't have Cloud back air. That move is stupid, and basically just like, you don't even need good neutral at this point. You can just use Cloud back air. That thing is absolutely incredible. He has really good killing as well. His confirms, doesn't have too many of them, but they hit super hard. Cloud hits just like unreasonably hard, as well as Limit being a really strong X factor. Like, when you get Limit, sometimes you can blow people up super early, go for these crazy edge guards. Like, Cloud is just such an amazing secondary character, as well as doing very well against like certain matchups. Like, I think Cloud, like his matchup versus Steve is very helpful in this current meta, and it helps him out a lot in this list. Definitely, like, he has a lot of very strong matchups, and again, some of the matchups he does lose pretty polarizingly. You don't have to really play them, which makes like secondarying so strong. I'm not gonna rant about secondarying because that's like, I mean, I can go on it forever, but Cloud, he is an amazing secondary character, the second best in the game. And then who could number one be? And the best counterpick character in the game, in my opinion, is going to be Min Min. She is the best secondary you can have because a couple reasons. One, her neutral is super broken. Two, she can edge guard you, two frame you, and ledge trap you at the same time, and I'm not over exaggerating about that. She can do all at once very easily. Her grab is super rewarding because it can kill a little bit early. Like, she is like a 150 kill grab, like around like back throw percentage or something. It's not like crazy as well as up throw being decently strong, but like nothing insane, of course. But getting powered up Dragon Arm from grab is just super dumb because powered up Dragon is ridiculous. Ram is super stupid. Like, the ball move can kill you very early. Like, Min Min just is a character with a really strong win condition, and she does have some really bad matchups that can kind of hold her back, and like her recovery can get exploited sometimes, and that's what's hold her back as a character. But when you're counterpicking, you're not going to be dealing with these really bad matchups. You're just going to be doing with the good ones, and Min Min in her good matchups is so strong, one of the most polarizing characters in the game, and that is why you see people like Proto Bonham, like DeBuzz, have so much success with her in the counterpick, especially like Proto Bonham, because, you know, notice how he has two characters in this top three. Don't think that was done on accident. Like, he's very smart, but like, Min Min is an incredible counterpick character, and in my opinion, the best in the game. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm curious you have as your top 10 counterpicks. If there's any characters that I super underrated for counterpicks, let me know. I could definitely see it. There's 80 characters in this game. I don't know all their matchups in and out, but I think this top 10 is pretty solid, and the top 3 is especially pretty solid. I hope you guys enjoyed. These videos are always super fun. Let me know what tier list you guys want next. The sport's been absolutely unreal lately. Thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.